The Nassar case is front and center in all of our minds, and it has brought about needed conversation about sexual misconduct more broadly as an issue that we need to address. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work on bipartisan legislation as part of a set of bills that I know in my heart will make an impact for survivors and also prevent sexual assault. So my bill, House Bill 5791, is similar, but definitely different from Rep. Losada's bill. So House Bill 5791, it would take important steps to ensure that all students in grades 6 through 12 specifically receive educational materials about sexual assault and harassment and inform young people about available resources in their community. So just to tell you a little bit about why I'm so passionate about this bill. 2 years ago, I started the Girls Making Change Fellowship. It's a program for high school girls in my district. And you'll hear a little bit later from Tamara Middlebrooks, who was in the program last summer. As part of the fellowship program, the girls talk about what they want to see change in their community. And they choose an issue that they want to work on for a community action project during that fellowship. So completely not chosen by the adults in the room, both years, in completely separate conversations, the girls in this fellowship program in 2016 and 2017 chose to work on sexual assault and interpersonal violence because many of them have either experienced sexual assault themselves or had a family member or friend who's a survivor. So while I knew that sexual assault was prevalent, in fact, 1 in 9 girls under the age of 18 experienced sexual abuse or assault at the hands of an adult. The fact that these young people all recognized that this is something that needed change was an important wake-up call to me as a friend to these girls, but also as a lawmaker, that I need to be doing as much as I can to address this issue. So in 2016, the Girls Making Change Fellowship, the participants decided they wanted to do a survey. And so they did a survey of their peers, and their questions to their fellow high school students were whether they knew someone who was a victim of sexual assault, and do they think that they have been given the education they need about interpersonal violence and what to do about it. At all 3 schools, Western International High School, King High School, and Cristo Rey, a large majority of the girls and their peers, 68%, who completed the survey answered yes to the first question and a resounding no, 73%, to the second question about whether they had been educated about these issues and available resources. The girls then put together what I would say are college level or maybe graduate level presentations that they gave at each of these schools during assemblies to educate their peers. And the girls worked with me to develop an idea for a bill to make sure that all students receive instruction about sexual assault and where to turn for resources in the community. So over the past year and a half, I've worked on a lot of revisions to the bill with the Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence and the Treatment Board to make sure that we're creating policy that's appropriate, that's responsive, and that's effective. And the bill would do several things. First, it would require the Department of Education to work with the Domestic and Sexual Violence Prevention and Treatment Board, as well as the Coalition, to develop age-appropriate informational materials regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment. These materials will be made available to all school districts, ISDs, and public school academies that serves grades 6 to 12. This material must include information about how to identify what sexual assault or sexual harassment is, an explanation that sexual assault or sexual harassment is not the victim's fault, and resources for those who have experienced sexual assault or harassment. Second, the bill requires school districts, ISDs, and PSAs to disseminate this informational material to each pupil in grades 6 to 12. It doesn't specify how this information has to be disseminated. We leave that up to the school district, and are happy to add in some language stating that even more clearly. But it does include a provision that this information also needs to be included in the school's handbook or a similar publication or the school's webpage. The last thing that this bill would do is encourage schools to provide educators and school employees with training every 5 years about how to respond to pupils who have experienced sexual assault or sexual harassment. And I think that this is really important because we recognize that as we're educating these students, we need to make sure that employees and are responding in an appropriate manner and know exactly how they could help a victim or survivor after they experience sexual assault or harassment. A few months ago, a few of us met with Angie Popolitis. She is the inspirational assistant AG that prosecuted the Nassar case. And she mentioned to me that several of Nassar's victims had expressed to her the need for education in schools about sexual assault. Several of them had actually shared with each other about what happened in Nasser's office, but many of them did not fully realize until much later that it was not okay and that it was sexual misconduct. So to me, and hopefully to all of us, it's imperative that girls and boys learn about sexual misconduct and where to turn for assistance. And this education cannot wait until college. We know that young people experience sexual assault at alarming rates, and we need to make sure they have the information and resources they need. I believe that this bill is something that's common sense, and it will help equip our young people with the knowledge and the resources so that they know what sexual assault and harassment is, where to turn for help if they or a family member or friend experiences it, and move us towards a path where we're actually changing our culture. We need to talk about these issues openly with our young people and make sure they're empowered and educated so that we can prevent future sexual assault and also help our survivors. Thank you so much. I'm happy to answer questions.